Please help a starving artist out by supporting me on Ko-fi. Thank you. Moon's disposition towards you was quite positive. Despite his lack of respect towards the night guards of the Pizzaplex, Moon just didn't like the simple fact that the one thing he was meant to enforce, the nap time, was seemingly useless. As the daycare's lights were always turned on, and of course that was because Moon frightened children. That's why emergency generators had been placed inside the daycare to ensure light even during blackouts. Essentially, he was made redundant, at least during daytime activities. Thankfully, Fazbear employed him at night as an extension for the night guards. He was basically a more agile and powerful security staff bot. And the reason as to why Moon liked you was that you actually did take naps. Only occasionally, sure, but it always brightened up his nights when you gave him the feeling of not being an utterly useless piece of equipment. And while the other guards didn't see his value, you did. The reason for that was the day of infamy, as you called it. Through unknown means, an intruder had managed to get into the Pizzaplex. They had surprised you, and using a taser knocked you out and bound you. Sadly, at the time, the Glamrock animatronics had already been stored in their green rooms in Rockstar Row, so they were no help. But, as the hourly blackout occurred, Moon activated, and he had been relentless in hunting them down. The animatronic even made a full police report after the cops had arrived. Sure, since that day all guards made fun of you. Not only had you been so unlucky you actually encountered an intruder, but also unlucky enough to be knocked out by them. Moon, in the meantime, had become your favorite animatronic. Today was your birthday, and despite the many requests to your boss Amir to please let you take off during it, he completely missed the date and thought your birthday was next month, so you begrudgingly had to go to work. You arrived late at the Pizzaplex. By now all other human workers had left. It was 8 PM, and you'd be on duty until 6 AM. You started your work night by grabbing the essentials: Montgomery Gator Novelty Taser, Industrial Flashlight, and Roxanne Wolf Bonk Bonk Baton for general security, each sold separately. It seemed like every year another piece of security equipment has a Fazbear theme to it. You sighed. Years. Where did the time go? This was just supposed to be a small job you did for a few months. Damn it. You always got like this on your birthdays. Melancholic. You need to get yourself together. For the sake of your own sanity, if anything. As you were brooding and moping to yourself, however, you failed to check the cameras, which would have shown you that the Moon animatronic during the last blackout had been climbing onto the ceiling and into the vents of the daycare after unscrewing some of the light bulbs. This meant that Sun's other half was still active and quite animate. Quickly, like an oversized spider, the robot began crawling through the vents, his body being a little too big, so it was quite an act. He was looking for you. He needed to tell you something of absolute importance. Moon's face breached through cobwebs, and he hissed, scratching angrily at his face. It took him an incredible amount of processing power to not immediately start screaming angrily. But he still slammed his fist, which created a loud, echoing metal thud, which was heard throughout the entire Pizzaplex. Which means you heard it. It made you jump and immediately pull out your taser. Flashbacks from the previous intruder playing in front of your eyes. This time, you'd get them first. Meanwhile, Moon realized the commotion he just unleashed. Pressed both hands on his mouth, like that did anything, before continuing to crawl forward. While you yourself were getting mentally prepared. Knowing there was someone in the vents, you now focused with all your courage and determination on any noise that might come from the vents. And while you wanted to say that you triangulated the intruder's position using science and survival knowledge, in reality you just followed the quiet bumps coming from the vents themselves and got ready whenever. Taser in hand next to any vent opening, until the intruder would crawl past them. Where was he going? If you knew that it was Moon, who himself was looking for you, you would have just called him using a security tablet. That would force him out of hiding. But, well, turns out both you and him are quite the dorks. He was determined to surprise you, and you felt like you finally could not only redeem yourself, but also have an anime protagonist moment, especially after the blunder from the first one. Finally, Moon laid eyes upon you. You, taser in hand, were pointing from left to right. You had lost them, and were now standing right beneath Moon and a vent opening. This was too perfect. The endoskeleton of the animatronic grinned, quietly opened the vent cover, before he snaked out of it. Holding himself in place with one hand, he used his other to attach his rope to the ceiling rafters. The daycare attendant had a winch hidden on his back, which allowed him to attach to a rail system that went throughout the entire pizzaplex, giving the robot seemingly the ability to fly. The winch had been installed after an accident where he didn't secure the rope properly and fell. Thankfully, it had been at night. But on-duty engineer Kevin, who had been woken up at 2 AM, wasn't happy at all, though it was his job so he couldn't complain. And slowly Moon descended towards you, while you angrily pulled out your security tablet. You were just about to flick through the cameras you were standing in, which would have given you a warning for what was about to happen next, but you were just a few seconds too late. Two heavy metallic hands slammed on your shoulders suddenly, and you screamed the loudest scream you ever screamed. The animatronic gasped and let go, swinging himself to the right. Thinking you just shook off the enemy, you leaped forward and pointed your taser at the would-be assailant, only to be met by Moon, who was hanging limp from the rope. "Hi," he said. Now, a regular person would have said, "What's going on? Why did you scare me like that?" in response, but not you. Instead, you just turned around and walked away, pissed off. "No, wait, night guard!" You ignored him, cursing the animatronic filled with his winch. Pressing a button, the winch released him, and he fell onto the ground like a cat, his hydraulics allowing him to sustain no damage. Now, the problem was that he was in the middle of the pizzaplex, where the lights were on, so he needed to dodge them. Which he did by sneaking past a turned-on light bulb and grabbing a souvenir Glamrock Freddy blanket at a gift store that was luckily open. He carefully wrapped himself around it before running after you. Luckily, you didn't get far. "Miss Nightguard! Miss Nightguard!" he shouted after you. Finally, you gave up. Turning around, you watched him huddle towards you. "Miss Nightguard," he said, once he stood next to you. "What?" you growled. "Happy birthday!" How should you react to that? How could you react to that? And how would you react to that? Moon, meanwhile, tilted his head curiously. He definitely didn't expect this reaction. He expected you to hug him and say thank you. But no, you just sighed. Honestly, maybe you could have appreciated the gesture more if he literally wasn't the first and only one who wished you a happy birthday.
But, I got a present for you too. May I take you with me, Miss Nightcard?
You're not allowed to give me presents, Moon. Only good work coupon tickets. You muttered.
That's regarding monetary gifts. What I'm going to do is not monetary.
Right. Without warning, the robot stepped behind you, pushing his arms under yours. Hey, what are you? You gasped, panicked, knowing full well what was going to happen next. He activated the winch, from which he was still hanging. Only about a foot into the air before moving forward. You bit your lower lip harshly to not scream. Thankfully, he didn't go too fast. And his grip, while a bit painful, was secure. Hey, where are you taking me? You stuttered.
To my daycare, silly. There's still time.
By now it was 11:55. He had 5 minutes. That's why the two of you were flying. And now, super quickly, the two of you arrived at your destination.
2 minutes,
he growled, as he lifted you up into the play area, where he dropped you onto the soft rubber ground.
Please, Miss Nightcard, follow me. Quickly, you will like it, I promise.
He pointed at the climbing frame with the slides and ball pits. He sighed, following his order reluctantly, until, crawling onto the 3rd floor of the colorful playground toy, you saw it. A tiny alcove, completely hidden by red and green rubber walls. It looked clean, or at least clean enough. And right there, in the middle, was a single pillow and a blanket. Do you mind telling me what this is? He tapped his finger together, almost shyly.
Nap time?
Ugh, it suddenly all made sense. The robot could not give you a physical present. Due to him being a machine, he was quite limited on expressions and creativity. So his present, as strange as it was all he was truly capable of. He was giving you the present of a nap time in what to him seemed to be the most comfortable place in the entire daycare. Not to mention it was entirely hidden by the security cameras. So no one would even know that you were slacking on the job. Closing your annoyed and tired eyes for a moment, you thought of what to do next. Moon, you said finally. Thank you. The robot squealed as he watched you crawl forward, resting your head on the pillow. It was a cheap polyester pillow, not comfortable at the slightest, but better than sleeping on the rubber ground. After a few seconds, you heard the robot crawl forward himself, and you felt him embrace you. His metal bits making this now even more uncomfortable than it already was, but hey, he was trying. He was honest to God trying. After a while, you said, "You do realize you need to screw these bulbs in before the plex opens at 6. He whined like a hurt kitten in response. The daycare truly was a little bit dark now, wasn't it? You leaned your head against his chest. But that's like in 6 hours.
5 hours and 56 minutes to be exact.
Uh-huh. Quietly you kissed the robot's cheek, making him squeak like a dog toy. Now shut up. Let me sleep. Okay?
Nap time,
he muttered happily. His purpose fulfilled. Hey, thank you for watching my video until the end. If you're new here, I hope you stick around and watch a few more. But before I say goodbye, I'd like to remind you to like the video and subscribe. That really helps the YouTube algorithm. That's all. Hope you have a good day. Until next time. Bye!